Check 1, 2, 3.
Okay, see the arrow?
What's that? We go to Saturdays. Yeah. Where our kids are actually the same. Is that soccer? Soccer. So who's playing make goals? Mine's goals. That's varsity. Yeah. Really cool. What are you? You do baseball? Yeah, they started baseball. What age? Or he's in the 11s. Okay. So they start throwing the heat. Yeah, right. Yeah.
Coming out there.
Yeah, I remember that. Start arguing about cracks.
And welcome to the April 17th, 2023 meeting of the Planning Commission for New Kent County. If you would please rise and stand as you're able for the moment of silence and pledge to the flag. Thank you. Please repeat as we say, I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Ms. Woods, nice to see you tonight. Could you do the roll call, please?
Yes, Chairman. Ms. Townsend?
Here.
Ms. Butler? Here. Mr. Moyer?
Here.
Ms. Pearson?
Here.
Ms. Thomas?
Here.
Mr. La Rochelle?
Here.
Dr. Schmidt?
Here.
Mr. Davis?
Here.
Ms. Rose?
Here.
Mr. Tiller?
Here.
Mr. Bennett?
Here. Thank you very much. We have a quorum. We're going to revise the schedule tonight a little bit, as one of our members needs to leave a little early, but he would like to hear as much dialogue as possible on the public hearing sector for tonight. If there is no objections in moving the public hearing up from this commission, could you voice it now, please? Hearing none, we'll move on. And Ms. LeDuc, could you? Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Forgive me. Dr. Schmidt.
Yes, sir.
Could you have the floor with regards to the public hearing? Thank you.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Tonight we have one public hearing before us. Each has been properly advised for tonight's consideration. Let me take a moment to review the procedures that we will use for tonight's hearings. Each public hearing will be considered separately. Staff will give a brief overview of the hearing that is before us. The sponsor of the case will be given an opportunity to make a presentation. Commissioners will be given an opportunity to ask questions of the sponsors or staff for clarification purposes. I will then open the citizens' comment portion of the public hearing and receive your comments. Sign-up sheets are located on the desk by the front doors of the administration building. I ask the following. You come to the podium, state your name and address for the record, address your comments to the commission, and limit your comments to 3 minutes. When the timer sounds, please conclude your remarks. Please note that the commission members will not answer your questions during the citizens' comment period, but will certainly take those questions and comments into consideration during the deliberation period of the public hearing. The public hearing is application PUD-01-22, Liberty Landing, Bridgewater Crossing, Incorporated.
Okay. Thank you. Good evening, everyone. I'm just going to give a brief overview of the application because the applicant has put together a very nice presentation and you don't need to hear everything twice. So, Ken Murner of Bridgewater Crossing and Jeff Geiger from Hirschler Fleischer have requested the rezoning from business and A1 to planned unit development of approximately 118 acres of land. The applicants are proposing to create a mixed-use development with approximately 60,000 square feet of commercial space in the front or northern portion of the property along Route 60, 145 townhomes, and 145 single-family residential lots. There are also designated open space areas, recreation areas, proposed clubhouses with amenities, and walking trails. The subject properties are located to the south of Route 60, across from the Five Lakes subdivision. The comprehensive plan designates these parcels as village. Villages are intended to involve a mixture of land uses on a smaller pedestrian scale. The creation of viable villages also requires the availability of public utilities to allow for compact nature of development. Liberty Landing is in keeping with the county's village vision and is proposed to be comprised of a mixture of structures and uses. Let's see. Like I said, I reviewed the applicant's presentation. They're going to go into more detail. The application materials were reviewed by all the county and state agencies, and their comments will be addressed during the site planning stage. Staff received one public comment on the application. We put at your seats this evening. And resolution PC-04-23 is before you for your consideration. I'll introduce Jeff Geiger to give his presentation.
Good evening, members of the commission. My name is Jeff Geiger, here on behalf of the applicant. I thank Ms. Leduc for the introduction, a high-level overview of the request that's before you. With my presentation this evening, I'd like to explain how we feel that the request before you is in line not only with your comprehensive plan, but also with your strategic plan. A very unique document that something that I've seen. I've had the opportunity to work in a lot of our localities in the Richmond region, and you have this unique document that we are also, applicants and landowners are also asked to look at in terms of how the county wants to grow in the future. After I talk through those, I'd like to explain some of the details with the request, and then answer any questions that the commission may have. This first slide here shows your comprehensive plan. As you know, that kind of mauve or pink color represents the village designation. And within the village designation, what does your comp plan call for? It calls for villages or land use that is characterized by a mix of structures and uses, including residential, commercial, and institutional. They are typically compact in size and pedestrian-oriented. They have historically functioned as social centers and are served or intended to be served by public utilities. And what you will see with our presentation, and hopefully you've seen in the packet that we've presented to the Commission for consideration, is that exact design. It's what we've seen in the way that we plan land use. So we're returning back to that mixture of uses. How can we really get both residential and commercial uses into a community so that it's walkable and people can be out and socialize on the streets and patron the businesses that are nearby? An important element of that is that commercial success with that captured consumer who lives nearby and makes it easier to attract and have a successful business in the commercial area. Also within the comprehensive plan, it designates the type of uses that you would like to see within your villages. Single-family detached, attached, or attached dwellings on smaller lots. We're not talking about the lot size that you would find in Brickshire or farms in New Kent, or even Patriots Landing. We're really talking about a much more smaller, compact living that people are looking for today, where they don't want the maintenance that comes with raking a large yard, cutting a large yard. And so we're designing a different type of housing community than you would otherwise see here in New Kent. Retail stores of modest scale, big box retailers, a big Walmart, a big Target, not appropriate. Service types of retail uses, and then also professional and general offices, both freestanding and a multi-tenant structure, are the types of uses that are encouraged for these villages. Now, as I mentioned, you also have put thought into not only where do you want to go or the types of uses that you find within your land use plan, but how do you want to get there? And so as we were working on this plan and refining our ideas, we knew that we had to look at this document and understand further, what are you telling us? What is your constituents telling us are the needs and the wants within the community? And in particular, we focused in on, from our perspective, two important aspects when it comes to land use. The strategic plan identified the need for attainable housing. What is attainable housing? Well, if you go and look and pull Realtor, I'm sure you all can do that, seen that. We did it too, and we said, hey, what does a new home, new construction home cost in New Kent? What's the average price? It's over $500,000. You are doing very well in bringing in new commercial infrastructure, new industrial uses, new warehouse uses. You have a employee base that might need a different or more attainable housing option. So we said, how can we use a design and a community to really achieve that goal that's identified within your strategic plan about housing the missing middle. And so we believe that we've come up with a plan that targets that. In addition, your strategic plan talks about retail. It talks about how you're a net exporter of retail dollars. Your residents in New Kent spend more money outside of your county than in your county. And one of the ways that the strategic plan talks about that is how do we create a destination area? How do we create a center for retail commerce? And we would like to contribute to what you're already building along Route 60 by continuing to add commercial options so that that Route 60 corridor through Bottoms Bridge can really become a hub for retail and professional services and other commercial development. And with that hub being close to Henrico, it also gives you the opportunity to import some of those Henrico dollars back into New Kent. So in addition to the uses, the strategic plan also talks about design principles. What are the principles that property owners, developers should consider when bringing a request before the county? And so the design principles that are in the strategic plan are to concentrate development in dense, compact patterns to preserve the countryside, manage public utilities and amenities, mix commercial and residential, provide supporting amenities and facilities that foster social activities, and provide an authentic destination experience. We believe that we have incorporated those principles of design into the proposal that's before you. As I also mentioned, when I mentioned earlier about the retail, the strategic plan also got a little bit more granular when it came to the retail. It also identified the types of retail that the county would like to see within the county. It particularly identified general merchandise, restaurants, hardware store, and clothing accessories. And so you'll see with the layout that we've planned for our commercial area, we're targeting these types of smaller space commercial, not going for that larger kind of big box or power center development that you might otherwise see, more in the White Oak area of Henrico. It also talked about additional county needs, a daycare, medical office, neighborhood office. As I mentioned before, we believe that we've kind of designed that commercial area that targets not just those retail uses, but also these types of professional and office uses. As I mentioned previously, identified the need for more of that middle market housing. So the request before you, as Ms. Leduc indicated, is a request to rezone the property to PUD for that compact mixture of uses that's sought by both your comprehensive plan and your strategic plan. We believe we've achieved an economical and efficient use of the land through this unified development. We believe that we can create a destination, a place that not only where people want to live and then either work or shop in the commercial area, but also an area that people will want to come and maybe visit our restaurants that are in the area and contribute to that sense of place that's building up and occurring along Route 60. The request also includes a set-aside of a significant portion of the property as open space, just over 62 acres, or 53% of the overall acreage. That open space designation does include our general amenity space, trails, landscaped areas, and then preserved, environmental areas. Plus, as you can see at the bottom here, it's outlined in orange, maybe hard to see my mouse, a historical preservation area. There are artifacts from an Indian camp on the property. And so we have identified those and we have preserved that area so it will remain in its current condition with the artifacts in place. Building out from the river back from that historical preservation area will be the townhouse section of the residential component of the community. We will then, as you come back and head towards 60, you will be in the single-family detached section. So we've kind of tucked our more intense housing back along the river, have the less intense housing closer to 60. This here is an area for a clubhouse and a pool. Our amenities also include a tot lot, pedestrian trails, and then a park or a picnic area with a shelter. We will have a road that basically operates as the spine road. It's a kind of an east-west spine road that will be the division between the residential area and the commercial area. Sidewalks will allow residents from both the townhouses and the single-family detached to walk to patron the businesses that are fronting on Route 60. The commercial area that's fronting on Route 60 will be designed in accordance with your commercial corridor overlay requirements. As you probably know, that started out as the Bottom Bridge overlay requirements, and then it got applied last year to some other corridors within the county and renamed to the Commerce Corridor Overlay. We're planning for 60,000 square feet of commercial space. The uses that will be permitted are those uses that are found in your business district, and we added a few others: a winery, kind of a commercial operation, that building supply lumber store that came out of the strategic plan, plant nursery garden center, again out of the strategic plan, a distillery, if one wanted to come, and then shopping center over 30,000 square feet and retail establishment over 30,000 square feet. Now, even though we pulled in or were using the uses from the business district, in working with staff, there were certain uses that staff did not want to see in this commercial area. And this slide here lists the commercial uses that are not allowed. And they're primarily the auto or auto-centric uses. Within the residential area, the single-family detached homes will be at a maximum of 145, and they will have a minimum square footage of 1,400 square feet. Townhomes will be there will be a maximum of 145 townhomes with a minimum square footage of 1,000 square feet. As I mentioned previously, the list of amenities is there and also includes a dog park. We have a variety of other development requirements that are associated with the new community. It includes the use of public water and sewer, again as required by your plans. We will have to use full cutoff, fully shielded lighting fixtures. We will have to have an architectural review committee to review the architecture. Open space must be maintained by the association. Within the commercial area, as we start development, we will put in upfront the infrastructure that's needed for the commercial. That is an important part to having sites that are ready to bring businesses into New Kent. One thing that we were asked, though, is not to cut down the trees. If you think about kind of the commercial that's in front of Patriots Landing, sometimes the ones that were right on 60, the trees came down pretty quick and they kind of sat there waiting for the commercial. And so what we've been asked is to leave the trees in place until we have users who are interested and then take the trees down. Helps preserve the aesthetics of the area while we're waiting for those commercial users to come. We'll have a 25-foot wide perimeter buffer. It will be landscaped per the zoning ordinance. We will have a 10-foot wide landscaped area between the residential and the commercial uses to help provide a transition at the request of your planning staff. The new community will access Route 60 by 2 points of entry, one on the east side of the development, one on the west side. The one on the west will align with Brook Boulevard, and at that intersection, we will be constructing an entrance onto 60 that will include one ingress lane and then 2 egress lanes. The 2 egress lanes will allow the left and right and through movements. We will also construct both left and right turn lanes at that intersection. At the east driveway, we will have an entrance onto 60 that will have one ingress lane and one egress lane. That one is essentially going to be a right out only. You won't be able to make that left turn movement onto 60. That too will also be provided right and left turn lanes into that entrance. Now, at this point, I do want to point out these road improvements have been reviewed. We did a traffic study. That traffic study has been reviewed by VDOT. And one of the things they came back with and said, hey, we may be considering what are some unique movements along 60. You may have heard of these in some of the presentations from VDOT, using what are called R-cuts. So if the county and VDOT decide that they want to implement this way of moving people through a corridor by using these R-cuts, there is a requirement within the case before you that we would implement a part of those R-cut improvements and also adjust our entrance to align where VDOT wants it. With this request will also come a variety of capital contributions to New Kent County. We have included cash proffers for a single-family detached home. It's $8,000 a unit. For a townhome, it's $4,000 a unit. The reason for the difference is a townhouse generally has about half the impact that a single-family detached home would have. With respect to utilities, as you may know, this area of New Kent County has a utility service district. The residents in this area pay an additional real estate tax for utility infrastructure that was put in by this service district. When this property is developed, if the request is approved by the board, an obligation kicks in to pay a availability fee. This availability fee is in addition to the traditional connection fee. And based on the information we've received from your utilities department, that combined fee is $18,925 per unit. Now, as I conclude my presentation, I would like to let you know that kind of a timeline. What could you expect? If the board approves the request next month, or in this calendar year, we would expect to get plans done in about 6-8 months, and we could start moving dirt end of 2024. Homes could then be constructed in 2025, and we could see first occupancy at the end of 25 into the first quarter of 2026. The whole development, we anticipate full build-out to occur by 2031. With that, I'm happy to answer any questions that the commission may have. But on behalf of the applicant, I would like to ask that the commission recommend approval of the requested PUD rezoning that's before you. Thank you very much.
Mr. Geiger.
Yes, sir.
One of the things that's done very well on the residential area is spelling out where the sidewalks would be in that. I don't see that in the business section. Is that just something you'd be putting on the site plan versus?
It is, it's a balance. How do we will have the pedestrian connections. The businesses want people to be able to walk from the parking in. But we don't want to lock them in. We don't want to lock the layout in and give too much specificity when it comes to the commercial, because I probably should have been a little more upfront. What we're showing you on the commercial there is what we think will materialize. But I want to let you know that those footprints that we're showing, they will adjust based on the business's needs. And so just to be completely upfront, like you will see, when this is ultimately built out, it will be some adjustment from there. Businesses like to be able to program their space based on their specific needs. But yes, Commissioner, there will be sidewalks. It will be determined based on how the businesses want their customers to access their space.
Any other commissioners have questions for him?
Yes, ma'am. Mr. Geiger, what do you anticipate the phasing of the project to be? What's the order of operations for you, do you think?
First thing we're gonna do is build in that commercial infrastructure. One of the ways that this has been set up is that in order to get to the residential in the back, all that commercial infrastructure will be put in first. From there, we will be marketing the commercial site to the public, to businesses that want to locate there. And as we move and develop the residential, they will start seeing the rooftops come. They will start seeing the captured consumers. And we believe that we will build on the momentum and attract the commercial as we're building in the residential.
And on the residential side, do you anticipate the single family occurring first, or the townhouse, or is that a marketing issue?
It's gonna be more of I think the answer to your question is more of a marketing issue. We will have to sell the single family first because that's how we got to get back there. But you want to be able to offer to the market two different products. You don't want to just go to market with one and then have the other. And so from a marketing perspective, from a home buyer perspective, we want to have both products available and selling at the same time. Will they both, come out of the ground at the same time? No, but I'd like to leave you with the impression that our goal is to get to both, having sales both. But realistically, single family will be the first that's coming out of the ground and built, and then townhouses will then come and we'll be selling them simultaneously.
And I assume both residential, the single family, and the townhouses will have driveway parking. There's no street parking.
Correct. Yeah, driveway. Good question. Thank you I'll give a little bit more detail. How's the single-family detached will have garages. They'll also have driveways. We have townhouse options that include townhouses that don't have a garage. Again, trying to provide a different type of product that has a more attainable price point. And then we'll have townhouses with garages. But whether they have a garage or not, there will be a driveway.
And in the townhouse area, you don't anticipate having any reduced street widths back there, do you?
No. No, sir.
Thank you.
Mr. Hill.
I know at the beginning you said not a big box store like a Walmart,
Mm-hmm.
whatever,
Yep.
but yet y'all did list a possible use as a lumber yard,
Mm-hmm.
like a Lowe's. Could you consider that a big box store?
Yeah, it would be, yes, to answer your question. In our mind, we're thinking more something smaller. Pleasance, what do we call it? Pleasance is now, is it Ace? TaylorMade, or Best, something like that. But something along those lines. We're not thinking. Yeah, we're not.
60,000 square feet would be gone pretty quick.
Yeah.
With a store like that.
Right.
And wait a minute. So that was
I don't.
That was my main concern there.
We don't see that demand there.
Okay. And
We see
I
it
really
more
don't see the
smaller
demand for a
scale.
I don't see the demand for a grocery store there either.
No, I wouldn't sit here and tell you that we are going to bring you a grocery store. It's not going to happen.
And the more you can do to try to sway VDOT into not the R cuts,
Yes, sir.
because I think that, because then all you have is a bunch of people making a U-turn in front of oncoming traffic.
I did learn, and I don't know if you had a hand in it, but I did learn that VDOT was finally persuaded to put in a traffic signal
good.
at the
Request.
closer to the old Bloom
Yes, the
marketplace.
marketplace. Yeah, that was-
Marketplace. Traffic light.
Yeah.
Yeah.
it'll be
I know that's something that Mr. Tiller, the county's been working on for a long time.
for years.
Yeah.
And I kept asking for the wrong product. I kept asking for a traffic study instead of a
Traffic signal, yeah.
study. But thank you. And
It's amazing sometimes how just a change in a word
Change in a
can
word,
get
yep.
somebody to think in a
it's the
different
first time
direction.
they did the traffic light study, they approved it.
Right.
So I guess that was their way of saying you should have done this the first time. But thank you.
You would think they would be helpful.
Yeah, you would.
Madam Chair, I have a couple of questions for the applicant. Mr. Geiger,
Yes, sir.
Mr. Davis mentioned phasing, and you spoke mainly on the residential components. They're in a relationship between the attached and the single family. But was there any discussion on phasing schedule between the commercial and the residential, i.e. after so many residential units are completed and then so much commercial is expected to be occupied?
We did have a brief discussion with that, with your planning staff and administration. It's a recipe for failure. I know we'd love to be able to tie and say commercial will come with residential. They just don't work that way. The businesses won't come unless the rooftops are there. You have to have the pocketbooks. If you're a representative of a company that's looking to invest in a new business locating in this commercial area, and you got to go to your investment committee, a bunch of people, executives, who are deciding where they're going to put their money, and you say to them, hey, I'd like to go here, but those houses aren't going to come for another 2 to 3, 4 years. The investment committee is not going to approve it. They've got other sites that are before them where the rooftops are there and it makes sense to go to where they're going to spend their money. Their answer will be, come back and wait. Come back to us again when those are built. And so what ends up happening is that relationship, that phasing that you're talking about, ultimately hamstrings, and you have a project that starts and then doesn't finish. And you have results that we've just learned over the last 10, 15 years. Doesn't work. So what we did is we said we will make a commitment, and the commitment's in the ordinance that's in front of you, that we will put in the infrastructure. We will create pad-ready, developable sites for your commercial area, short of cutting down the trees. And then we will go out and market it. We look forward to working with your economic development director to market those sites. We have interest, and we look forward to working with those who've expressed interest should the board approve the request at their hearing.
Thank you. With regards, and again, working from Mr. Davis's questioning, I believe our county codes require 2 off-street parking area locations for each residential unit.
Mm-hmm.
I believe there's a current standard in VDOT to also have at least 2.
Mm-hmm.
In my past experience with land development in townhomes, especially in townhome configurations, a garage is considered one of those parking spaces. Well, that garage ends up to be storage area, and thus they're down to 1. So what alternatives are you looking at to provide adequate off-street parking, especially in the townhouse area and in addition to the single family?
I think that's a great question. It's something that we're always mindful of. If a home buyer doesn't feel like they can live there, their friends can visit them, they won't buy a house. And so parking is always something we're looking at. So to answer your question, we would have a double wide driveway. even though there might be a single garage, we have an option for a double wide driveway. That way you're not really counting on that garage space. Another aspect is how do we design our roads? And so, as you know, I think as you indicated, VDOT has certain standards, certain section designs that you choose from depending on the width of your right-of-way. And so we're looking at putting in roads that use a design that has parking on one side and then 2 through lanes. And so within that townhouse section, between the driveways, you would have available parking.
Thank you for that. With regards to the east entrance and the median break, I saw there were 3 alternatives that were being discussed. But I did not see a timeline for completion of that east entrance. I do believe, I think there was a timeline like the 25th CO or something of that for the
Yes.
west, but I did not see a timeline completion for the east.
Same, it's in there too.
Okay.
If you'd like, I can point it to you.
I'm sorry?
If you'd like, I can point you to it.
No, that's fine. So you're stating it here. That's all.
Good. Okay. But yes, both are no later than the 25th CO.
When usually COs, occupancy is completed, and then all the other components that make the amenity wholesome, the amenity package is somewhat delayed. So even though you stated a completion of 2031, I believe, when is all items, 100%, the project is completed? I understand the commercial may lag a little bit, but all items of the residential is completed, including the amenities, the trails, all those systems.
Great. Thank you for that question. We expect to be built out on the residential side by 2031. The amenities will actually come faster. There's an obligation for us to build all of the amenities no later than the 150th certificate of occupancy. The clubhouse and pool has to come no later than the 75th certificate of occupancy. Let me make sure I got that right.
75.
Yep, okay. So we've stepped it. We've always made sure that there are benchmarks along the way to ensure that those amenities are in place.
Okay. And one other question. The document, the suggested ordinance to allow this as a PUD, there's the wording in it that suggests there may be a community association for the commercial properties, and the word is may in that document. With this being a PUD that relies on the balance of open space throughout the entire development, and there may be a commercial community association and a residential community association, should there not be like a parent community association so that that open space is retained and maintained and held public or private for eternity?
Good question. The traditional way that you can set these up is like you said. You would have what we call like a master association that's over both the residential and the commercial. And just to be upfront, if that structure is used, the commercial is in charge. And the reason the commercial is in charge is because you always want to make sure that the homeowners aren't responsible for maintaining your frontage. The commercial businesses are invested and want to have a very attractive commercial frontage. And so they're the ones who are setting the standard for the landscaping and when it's cut, what it looks like, how it's planted, when plants are replaced, that type of thing. And then there's a separate, what we call a sub-association that's for the residential. And that sub-association is more the traditional association that you might be familiar with, where they're maintaining the clubhouse and the pool and the picnic area and the tot lot and the landscaping in the common areas that are part of the residential. That's kind of the traditional way. There's another way you can do it. You basically you will have one of your businesses be in charge of all the common areas in the commercial area, and then they collect money from the other tenants. And so that one, it's usually an anchor. That one anchor business will then maintain it because they want the commercial to be set to the standard of that primary business that's in there. And so that's two ways we can do it, but at the end of the day, we'll pick one of those two, but at the end of the day, the businesses will be in charge of their open space, their landscaping, the aesthetics of the commercial.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Okay, sure.
Are we gonna cap the amount of houses that you're gonna build per year?
No.
Up to 2031?
No.
Okay, so the next question would be for Ms. Kelly. I know that we've had a subdivision here that said commercial was coming in with the residential, but it was like the residential came, but no commercial came. Are we sort of gonna be able to balance this? I mean, if we have all homeowners coming in with no commercial? How do you guarantee that we're gonna have commercial coming in the front?
Is the subdivision you're talking about Farms of New Kent?
Well,
That's the only one I can think of.
Well, there's a
And that's got
couple
some
of
other
here,
issues, yeah.
you know,
So here's how I'm going to answer that. Are you seeing new investment in Route 60? Do you have a new VCU, MCV, freestanding emergency department?
But that was
Do you
done on the grace of a person who was representing us, who worked diligently
I understand.
to get that. And it was very hard to get that there.
I'm not discounting that, but that's a quality investment. Tractor Supply, Jolene's Winery across the street. Is a new restaurant going in the Patriots Landing, new office that's going in with that as well. I think the daycare that operates here is looking to locate there as well. You're getting investment in Route 60, and we just want to build on that momentum. People are interested. The Patriots Landing is built out. There are rooftops in Five Lakes and Patriots Landing. We'd like to add some more and keep growing that commercial base that the county has been planning for. Maybe somebody here can help me, but I think it was 2005 when you kind of created that corridor business designation along Route 60. And so the investment's coming. The businesses are interested in being there. Dunkin' Donuts just came to mind. That new shopping center, I think you've got some businesses that have gone in there as well. So I think it's coming, and we're just providing the interest. Like I said, we've had 3 businesses reach out to us expressing interest in coming. So to us, it's not an if, it's a when.
I got one more.
Okay.
Some of these lessons were learned at the Cloverfield development that you guys had that stood still for a long time because there wasn't any commercial, and no one was purchasing the townhomes. And then you put commercial in, and all of a sudden people were building a townhome or buying the townhomes. I think it sounds like you've learned from that, because I don't believe those commercial lots were ready as they are going to be for this.
Okay.
That makes a big difference, I
Yeah.
would think. And I see existing New Kent businesses moving into these places, not necessarily outside. You know that.
We would like to attract outside, but I think if we do we do know of one business that's a New Kent business that wants to come here. And we think, even if you do have some of your businesses moving to new space, with that, hopefully that will encourage other existing commercial buildings to reinvest in order to backfill those that have left. Yeah, one of the things that we've learned, and I think we've learned with the localities, is it's not fair for us to say, look, it's on paper that that's going to be commercial, but we haven't spent any dollars investing in that commercial space. And so here we're putting dollars into the dirt, into the commercial, and that's our motivation. We've got to tell our lender we're going to be getting revenue back for that investment. And so we're then invested in marketing that space and looking for commercial tenants.
Madam Chair, one more question for Mr. Duke, if you would come up, please. How did we get here? There's some history with this project from, I think, 2004 or 2006 or something like that. I believe the applicant has been before this commission, not necessarily these individuals, but this commission twice before, and to the board at least twice. Is that correct? Or once?
Ken and I were actually talking about that before the meeting. My recent memory is the 2014 case that did come before the Planning Commission, and it got sent to the board with an unfavorable recommendation. It was a completely different layout and type of proposal, and I did bring those notes from the 2014.
If you please.
Yeah, it was 200,000 square feet of commercial, 190 townhomes, and 260 apartment units. That was the 2014 proposal, and it got ultimately denied by the board 3-2. I don't remember much about the 2009 proposal. I didn't work on that one. Do you remember? No, it was 2009. It goes back that far. Yeah, I think it was similar to the 2014.
A little bit higher density
Okay.
on the residential side.
Yeah. Third time. Yeah.
Thank you.
Madam Chair, I have a couple more too, sorry. Ms. Leduc, you can stay. I just have a
I'm
general
here.
question about,
That's fine.
does the Commissioner of Revenue or staff actually review the math on all the fiscal impact analysis and all that? So, I mean, numbers look good, but does someone check the numbers?
Yeah, we did have, we had the school systems look at the numbers. As far as, I know that Mr. Smolnick reviewed it, and we did have to go back to the applicant to have them revise the numbers, so we feel pretty confident that it's all correct.
Okay. And I have one final question, Mr. Geiger, as well. Thank you. So it's my understanding you had a community meeting,
Yes,
March 6th. How well was that attended, and did you get any, what was the general feedback from those attended?
It was well attended. We held it with both the Five Lakes HOA and the Patriots Landing HOA. And then we also noticed our adjacent landowners. We had a full, if you've had the opportunity to be in the community space in the clubhouse at Patriots Landing, it was a full room. 50 would be 40, 50, somewhere in there would be my guess. And we had conversations around a grocery store. I told them not coming. And we had conversations around traffic. At that time, Mr. Tiller was still working on trying to convince the county, VDOT, to put in the traffic signal. And the study had just come out about the arc cuts. And so we spent a lot of time on traffic. We talked about commercial uses. We talked about residential. Redistricting had just occurred because of the new school. And so, we were giving them kind of the numbers that were available at that time. In the fiscal impact analysis, you now have the current numbers after kind of that, I don't know if reset's the right word, but the adjustment after the new elementary school was built. Those were those are kind of the high points.
Madam Chair, I have a couple of questions. So back to, you were talking about the east egress So if that means traffic there leaving the business or the homes, we're gonna have to make a right turn. They'd be making the U-turn at Longview.
If they wanted to go,
Make
westbound on 60. Mhm. Or they would work through our roads to come to the westbound entrance.
Right.
So they have two options. Yes.
And VDOT didn't have any,
I think I'm talking to somebody who's not a fan of U-turns, but if you don't know this already, VDOT loves them.
well aware VDOT loves them,
Loves
especially on 60.
Loves them.
And then if you would go over how the school, Ms. Leduc, you said the school system reviewed the numbers, 103 children out of 290 homes. That math seems a little off to me.
Can you help explain to me the off aspect?
I would think it would be higher
May I ask why?
because most people have children.
Yeah, but remember a townhouse. Remember a townhouse. There are a lot of statistics out there. You'd be surprised. In land use, we have lots of data that we're now starting to pull together when it comes to traffic and when it comes from schools. We actually can tell you, we can go and look the school systems, whether it's yours, other localities, other similar. We know how many kids are generally created by a townhouse community. How many are created by a single family community? That's the data that was used. And so I'm working a little bit off of memory because I didn't memorize this number well, but it's roughly 3.8, 3.7 kids. Well, hold on. 0.37 children are generated on a blended basis from the development. And so that's how we get there. And then those 109 are then spread over the different schools, different age groups.
I just have some concerns about that number being too low. It's going to be more of an impact on our school systems.
I think.
And I work
here's-
in data, so I understand
Yep.
how data works.
Yeah, I can't. There's no guarantees it's going to be exactly right, but it's the best numbers we can use to predict the future. And so when we do the same types of development over and over and over again, we generally get enough of a data pool that we can predict it. We'll admit, like you said, there aren't many townhouses in New Kent. So it's just so you know, we don't pull data from Henrico. We pull data from similar types of localities, York County, Surrey County. It's the best I can do. And so we use that data to predict the future.
But that's probably 103 that are moving in. That doesn't count the number of potential children after that, I would think. Because it's a lot of young couples in townhomes, I would think.
Yeah, we find that young couples buy a townhouse, they have one child, and usually by the time they have a second child, they're looking for a house in Patriots Landing. They're looking for a house in Berkshire, but that house is being vacated by a family, probably empty nesters, and so all you're doing is replacing one child for another child. We have within this data there is a housing cycle, and if you have a very good housing cycle where you have entry to family to empty nester, you have people moving through. It provides a less of a burden on the school system because people are getting out. The housing stock is turning over instead of people being locked in and buying and just building more of the same type of housing.
Question for Kelly. Didn't we just talk about a subdivision that was being built and that we required them to slow down on the houses until X number of commercial came in? Because it was a lot more houses than commercials were being offered. But didn't we have some kind of safeguard in place?
The only one I can, think of, and that's what Jeff was saying, was those provisions were put into the Farms and New Kent PUD ordinance. Are you thinking about dispatch station? Where they were capped at 25?
What you're talking about, yes.
Yeah,
But we had said that it needed to, I mean, because there is no commercial, and then no commercial has showed up, or if it is showing up, it's showing up not necessarily in the development, but outside, on the outskirts of the development.
I hate to put Matt on the spot, but do you know what she's talking about? Oh, he's not here. Of course he's not here.
The only one I can think of was
do you
the last
remember
one that had that kind of thing was Brickshire. And Brickshire was 1 million square foot of commercial, and they have about 100,000 now. It never got to fruition, but that development has still kept growing.
Right.
But that was the last time I can think. Farms and New Kent was after that.
2005, right.
But we can see that's going to be. This is, I guess, a matter of time.
Right.
We live to next week, and these guys are looking at 2031. You know, it's such a long way away. It's tough to understand it.
I can look back, Patty, but I honestly don't. Doesn't sound familiar to me.
I
We
think
haven't
that
done any big.
It was when Colonial Downs came in, and they had to PUD.
Oh, okay.
They guaranteed that we were going to have so much commercial, there would be bowling alleys and this and that, and
Oh, sure.
all we got was houses.
Right.
And look what you still got. I mean, you've got a Dairy Queen across the street, but that's not necessarily in the development. I mean, I have a little bit of concern about that. The growth needs to be somewhat controlled.
Right. Do you want to address that?
The dairy, is that I didn't hear. Were you thinking of Brickshire? Yeah, yeah, then that Dairy Queen is in the Brickshire PUD because that whole little shopping center, you have a hotel that goes back behind that, 64. So that's just a really large dispatch station. That was one where you did approve it, and it has a cap of 25 building permits per year. Does I have that right? Somewhere in the 20s. And no commercial, and that was done because the school you didn't have the new school yet, and so it was really a school growth concern. Here you've got a brand new school, we've got capacity, and so I understand what you're saying. I'm just saying other localities have tried it, and it just doesn't work. And if you want, you can keep trying it, but you're not going to get the strategic growth that you've called for within your comprehensive plan, and more recently within that strategic plan. You've really got to have those consumers before you'll get those businesses to make that investment. A business is not going to invest in New Kent if they don't have people who are going to pay for their goods. It's just, we would love to change it, but we can't.
I'd love for it to be changed, but I have heard this story before that we're going to have so-and-so and this is going to happen and this is going to be.
I'm not telling you that story. I'm not telling you that. Back to the question about what did we hear? Like, you had an applicant come before you who said, I'm going to bring you a grocery store and give me self-storage in the back. And that was one of the things, like, they were like, hey, we just had somebody here telling us we were going to get a grocery store. When you're not getting a grocery store. You're not. Food Lion's got a monopoly. I'm sorry. It's just the way it's going to be. I'm not looking to bring a grocery store. We'd like to bring the pattern of development, the pattern of investment that you're seeing along that corridor. We just want to give you more opportunities for that. You have an existing accounting business that's investing in an office and restaurant use. So let's create another site where you have another entrepreneur within the county who wants to grow their business or do something different, and let's give them that opportunity.
Madam Chair, I just have one question. I don't know whether Mr. Geiger or Kelly can answer it. I know in the draft ordinance, and it is specified as a minimum, it's 25% of the total land area for dedicated to open space. Yet in your presentation, you listed 52%. Where's the disparity there?
It's more of a, we're just showing you how much we're exceeding it by.
Okay.
That's all.
Would you be willing to commit to more?
Yeah. We wouldn't have a problem with that.
Any other questions from the commissioners?
Yes, ma'am. One more related to what Mr. Rose had to say. With regards to the draft documents for approval of the PUD by the board, it's outlined the uses, and I'll say, I'm paraphrasing now, not using exact, 30,000 square feet commercial space over 30,000 square feet, but it doesn't cap. Your project is identified to a 60,000 square foot cap. So I would think that ordinance to approve needs to specify that cap of 60,000 square feet too. They collect the combined cap for the commercial, not just leave it as a 30,000 open, because 30,000 to infinity is over 30,000.
So we think the market's at 60. If we got two users who wanted to put in if we got a medical office user who came in and wanted to put in, a two-story building, and all of a sudden we're at 80.
My opinion,
Would you
come back to the commission.
Really? Okay. Just so you know that user's going to go.
Well, there's more than my consideration. That, there's utilities and fire and life safety. I think they should be involved in that decision.
And they are through the POD, through the site plan development process.
And the same thing is true with regard to whatever amenity package that you're suggesting that you would like to offer with this rezoning. I think those ought to be mentioned, like the square footage to the square clubhouse or the amenities in specific as the minimums that your group is planning to provide.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Madam Chairman. So one excellent presentation, by the way. Concern that I have, you referenced the comprehensive plan, you referenced our Envision New Ken. One of the items that always comes up on surveys is maintaining rural nature of the county.
Right. Yeah.
And this, to me, this is not my definition of rural,
No.
obviously.
No.
I see this now as possibly becoming a part of county to avoid because of traffic and traffic lights and noise and congestion and everything else. So I don't know if there's anything you can say to assuage concerns from folks who want New Kent to stay rural.
Oh, yeah, sure. No, thank you for the question. I'm challenged, whether I'm in New Kent, whether I'm at other more rural jurisdictions, and I hear that comment. Let's keep it rural. And I don't know what that means. Does that mean the community is saying, I want to keep it as it is, or we just want large houses on large lots and commercial development spattered here and there? Or do you want to do what your comprehensive plan and your strategic plan act calls for? Concentrate that development. This type of development is not allowed throughout New Kent. It is allowed here in the one village designation. You have a couple other villages, we're standing in another one, where you want that growth to occur because you recognize growth has to happen in order to keep the revenue coming in. And two, we want the rest of the county to stay the way it is, agricultural, timber. And we're going to say, if we're going to grow, it's only here, not throughout the rest of the county. So from my perspective, we're doing what the citizenry is asking for by focusing the growth, providing the commercial opportunity so that it doesn't happen in the rest of the county. And if I'm in your seats, I'm saying to my citizenry, we have a plan, this is where the growth is going to occur. We're not allowing anything else. We're drawing a line. And you can't go across that line. That's what I think your comprehensive plan does. That's what I think your strategic plan does. But you're right. There are sometimes I go into localities and they're like, when I hear that, it's like, no, like we don't want. Just keep doing 5-acre lots, do houses on 5-acre lots, that's all we want. And I say to them, well, at that point, we're just putting houses throughout the rest of the county. We call that strip development. You're just road stripping the county. And you have houses throughout the agricultural and rural area. I personally think the way you guys the county has come up with this plan, villages, concentrate the development, draw the line, the rest of the county stays agricultural and timber, that's what you want. That's protecting the rural character. And that's what the plan, the strategic plan says. That's how you protect it.
I have a question.
Okay, go ahead.
It may be 2 questions. What, right now, the HOA fee, have you considered or decided what that would be? Because I hear you speaking on what the housing prices will be. But I want to know what would the HOA fee be?
We don't know.
You don't know yet?
We don't know. I don't want to sit here and, as you may know, HOAs have to create a budget. And in order to create that budget, we have to know what our expenses are. And we can't even get there until we really get to the plans process to understand, okay, what are we maintaining? How much are we maintaining? And then we put that budget together. If you've bought a house, you know that in an HOA, you have to get a disclosure packet. In that disclosure packet, you get all the documents you get, and the most important part is the budget. And that tells you what your fee is because it's based on the budget. And so I don't want to sit here and make up an answer that I know is going to be wrong because we just don't have the data to tell you what is it going to be.
And the reason why I asked that is based on affordability.
Yeah. And as you may know, when somebody does underwriting to buy a house, it's not just how much it's not just your monthly, principal, mortgage, and interest. You have PMI, and then your taxes. They then add in the HOA fee in order to figure out if you qualify. So that's kind of the market check on the developer, because at the end of the day, we need to make sure we set up the HOA in a way that allows the houses to sell at a price that works. And so we are cognizant of it. We are aware of it. We do it all the time. I just can't sit here and tell you the number. Okay. But if the county wants these types of developments within this private governance structure, so that you have architectural control, so that you have landscaping control, and if we're going to do that, then we got to have that fee. It's just the way it is. Just like I got to pay for northern long-eared bass, just like I got to pay for drainage issues. I'm going to get on my I'm going to get on my soapbox. Affordability is also government regulation. How much cost are you putting on that house? And so the less we can have, the cheaper we can build.
Any other questions?
I have one more. So your projections for the schools, the impact on Quinton schools, 0.317 or whatever the number was. So you can estimate using that how much this development is going to contribute. But we have hundreds of open building permits now in that area. We have apartments going in Patriots Landing that are also going to impact that.
Right.
So there's a cumulative effect I think that needs to be considered.
Sure.
As we do this. I don't know if you evaluated any of that as you did your proposal.
Your planning staff asked Ms. Leduc mentioned that we had to do a rewrite to the fiscal impact analysis. And one of the requirements that staff had on us was to evaluate what we call the pipeline. And they gave us the pipeline data to put in there. And that analysis is within the fiscal impact analysis that the school system reviewed.
Any more questions? If not, then I will open the citizens' comment portion of the public hearing. We have one person on the sign-up sheet, Paul Williams.
Willard.
Willard, okay, sorry.
Thank you. My name is Paul Willard. I live at 4173 Virginia Rail Drive in Providence Forge, which is the Brickshire development. And I want to thank an opportunity. As I listened to the presentation, I've lived all over the country. I've seen good development. I've seen development that we don't really want in any area, more or less, New Kent County. Mr. Geiger's presentation is very good. And if all that stuff happens, it could be very good. But I am also concerned, and based upon the number of questions I've heard from the commissioners, you are as well, that it sounds really great, but the devil's in the details. When someone says we're going to put in $8,000 for a residence and $4,000 for the townhomes, that's not a lot of money when you look at the cost of things. And when you're talking about 6 years or more down the road, that it really won't be a lot of money at that point in time. The other thing, when I saw the numbers of 103 children for the school, I too was shocked at that number. And quite frankly, I don't know how one could come to that number because, it's just kind of one of those, there's no way. And I've seen schools that were built that were brand new that had to put in cottages or portable learning cottages on the day one of the school opening because of the fact that what was thought did not happen. People are going to move to New Kent. When you expand the highway out this way, which they're going to do, and which is a good thing, there's going to be people moving here. As crime, poor government, bad decisions are made in Richmond, we will continue to be a bedroom-type community, which is not a bad thing. I want services. I moved here 17 years ago. It's the longest I've ever lived any place in the United States, and I have lived all over the country. When I first moved here, I said, what does one do in New Kent? And they said, you can get a pumpkin. And I said, well, okay, good pumpkins. And I would like to have services. I tell people I have to go to Williamsburg or I have to go to Richmond. But I want controlled development. I want something I'm going to enjoy living in so that when I do go to whatever over in that commercial area, I'm going to like going over there. I'm not going to fight traffic like I would in Short Bump. I'm not going to fight traffic like I would on Victory Boulevard in Newport News. I'm not going to fight traffic like on the eastern end of Mechanicsville, out on 306 or 360, going out that way. The roads will have to be dealt with, and I don't see anything here that says, here's what we're going to do with Route 60. Build it and they will come. Again, Brickshire was built with a build it and they will come. And I'm sorry, Dairy Queen is, I ate lunch there today, but it's not my idea of quality development. And that's just the real world. If you want to get a pizza, New Kent County, you're good for that. If you want to get a burger, you can get a burger or something like that. So we want quality development. Setbacks, 25 feet ain't that much. What about mounding? What about noise suppression? What about increased landscaping? What about signage and height signage requirements? There's a lot of things that Mr. Geiger basically said, this is what we think. And again, based upon what I'm hearing, we don't know a lot right now. And at some point, maybe we should say, wait, and don't misunderstand me. I want services. I want development. But I want something that's going to be aesthetic, that's going to be pleasant, that I'm going to enjoy being able to use, that I'm not going to say, good God, don't let me get on that part of Route 60. I'll die there, and nobody will know to pick me up. I'm sorry. I thought they had maybe a buzzer or something like that. You're the buzzer, okay? Well, again, thank you very much. I just say, maybe we should slow down and ask a lot more questions. That's all I would like to say. And because of what I've said, and I'm over a 3, you can scratch me from the public comment unless that's immediately after this. Thank you.
Thank you. There was only one person signed up for citizen comment.
Thank you, Dr. Schmidt. We've heard a lot tonight. Is there consideration for the board, for the commission?
Could I ask a question? I know I'm way out of line from the rules here. I did not sign
I'm
up.
sorry, we've extended that time.
Okay.
I'm gonna have to keep it closed right now.
That's fine. Can I
Thank-
submit it to the commission?
Thank you very much. Again, is there a recommendation from the commission?
Mr. Chair.
Mr. Davis.
Just as an observation and comment, I think the project does appear to be consistent with the comprehensive plan. We've again discussed the village concept in the comprehensive plan. I do agree that there should be borders or areas where we can develop, and maybe other areas where we shouldn't develop as much. I think this project in general falls within that area that it's subject to development, and kind of fits, in my opinion, what Bottoms Bridge is. Whether we agree with what Bottoms Bridge is or not may be debatable, I guess, or subject to debate. But it does kind of fit into what Bottoms Bridge is moving towards, or what and what's around it. So that's my opinion at this point.
Mr. Davis, would you like to make a motion? Not pressuring you.
No other comments, I will make a motion. Mr. Chair, in order to address, protect, and promote public convenience, necessity, general welfare, and good zoning practices in the county, I move to adopt resolution number PC 0423 to forward application PUD 0122 to the New Kent County Board of Supervisors with a favorable recommendation.
Thank you, Mr. Davis. Mr. Davis made a motion to approve the applicant. Discussion. And I'll start with you, Mr. Davis, but I presume you've already made your discussion. Is
Yes,
that correct?
that's
Okay.
correct.
Then I'll go around the table. Mr. Moyer.
Yes, thank you. One of the things we're doing here tonight is we're changing the zoning from business to a PUD. And in thinking about it, if we were a community of 50,000, 75,000, and we had no big box, we had no Target, we had no Walmart, and we had this business space there, I would think there would be a clamoring for something like that. But we don't have 50,000, we don't have 75,000. We have 4,500 people in that area. And there still may be a clamoring for those type of things, but they're not coming. Not with that little rooftops. And so as a land use decision, and that's what us as Planning Commission do, it would be, how this is spelled out, I think would be the proper use of land being a PUD versus sitting and waiting till the county got big enough for the Walmart to come. So that's why I would agree with the motion.
Thank you, Mr. Moyer. Thank you, Mr. Moyer. Mr. LaRochelle.
Nothing to add.
Thank you, Mr. LaRochelle. Ms. Thomas. Thank you, Ms. Thomas. Ms. Pearson.
Nothing to add.
Thank you, Ms. Pearson. Ms. Butler.
I would counter the land use in this case. Looking at our list at the back of our package, we currently have 19 subdivisions listed. So we've got a lot of subdivisions going on or proposed throughout the county. So I'm not sure that this is the right use of the land.
Thank you, Ms. Butler. Ms. Townsend.
I would have have to agree with Ms. Butler. I am kind of concerned that so many houses are going to come in, and where's the school's capacity right now? I'm sure that probably within 2 more years, that capacity of that school level will be full. But there's so many subdivisions out there now that have not been built out yet. So we haven't seen the numbers. That's my biggest concern is I don't want to get hit all of a sudden with hundreds of children coming in and we don't have a place to put them other than in a trailer out in the backyard of the school.
Thank you, Ms. Townsend. Dr. Smith.
No other comments. Just one, though, but if there's anybody in the room that knows how to clone me, I could open up a satellite practice over there.
Thank you, Dr. Smith. Ms. Rose.
I do have some concerns about the schools. However, I do think this is an appropriate use of the land and trying to concentrate the development along that village corridor. The other aspect, and I think it really goes to the gentleman's comment about well, what about this? What about that? And all the details that would go into this. We're approving land use. We're approving the PUD. We're not approving a CUP with other more very specific conditions. And the site plan process and all those other things that go into an approval are still yet to come. So I think we have to rely on that part of the process to vet the phasing of the project and the true details of the development.
Thank you, Ms. Rose. Mr. Guy, you're very well studied and very intelligent and very well knowledgeable of this area. Thank you for your presentation. My only pause in this proposal is timing of the commercial with the residential, as there are other residential developments that are still occurring. And there is the drive of trying to have, this is a PUD, which is a workplace development. I think they kind of work hand in hand. I'm still cautious on just having housing units after housing units without any commercial development to offset those housing units for jobs, for needed services, things of that nature. So with that said, I'll call for the vote. Ms. Woods.
Yes, to adopt Resolution PC 0423 with a favorable recommendation to the Board of Supervisors. How say you, Mr. Moyer?
Aye.
Ms. Townsend?
Aye.
Mr. La Rochelle?
Nay.
Mr. Davis?
Aye.
Mr. Tiller? Ms. Thomas?
Nay.
Dr. Schmidt?
Aye.
Ms. Butler?
Nay.
Ms. Rose?
Aye.
Ms. Pearson?
Nay.
Mr. Bennett?
Aye.
Mr. Chairman, we do have a roll call vote of 6-4 in favor of adoption.
Thank you, Ms. Woods. This will appear to the Board of Supervisors in the month of May, is that correct? Okay, with a favorable recommendation. Thank you very much for your presentation and your time, folks. I will now go on. Let's see. If you don't mind, let's take a 5-minute break.
All right, guys. Nice to meet you.
It was a pleasure meeting you.
I think the board meeting is.
Excuse me. You can scratch me from the public thing. I think I probably made.
Oh, this is now. Okay.
I think I made the point.
Yes, yeah.
But outside of the only thing I'd say now is I don't need a 125-foot sign.
Right.
To tell me how to get to. and-
Buc-ee's.
Well, and the thing of it is, 60's gonna turn into a nightmare. I'm sorry, it will. And,
Kind of is in the summer.
yeah.
I have to go to the
And
restroom,
plus,
pardon
if
me.
you're, and it already is in the summer because
Right.
people are jumping on that to avoid
Right.
64 to get to Virginia Beach.
Yeah. We understand. Thank you for coming out.
Well, thank
We do
you.
appreciate your time.
I did not sign to speak because when I saw your presentation, Mrs. sent to me and the call. I didn't really have a lot of information about it. With the exception of what's going on with the rivers. I know that it was right up to my and I'm not in place with this. Those are the three questions.
Oh, no, I just took some notes just because that's what I was doing. I'm talking to Emily birthday. Have we seen it? So I can either kayak or we have some
You look at the Virginia Supreme Court in 2007, it says that your fee on my property, commercial. Check it out, because he told me I should check it out, and that's what I did. And that's what I did. I just have a felt like dealing with this I'm just telling you, and let me figure out cases in my mind. Makes me wonder how, what you guys are on the Yes. We're seeing it. I mean, 1 through 4, yeah, 8 through 17. Was no 5, 6, or 7.
If we could take your seats in so we can reconvene the meeting? Yes, please.
We're gonna finish. Okay. Back to order.
Tape rolling. We're back from our break. Thank you very much. It's 8:03, and we'll pick up where we left off from the agenda, and that is consideration of the approval of the minutes from the March 20th meeting. Are there any additions, corrections, or notations that need to be made that Ms. Adams will make on Anne Marie's behalf? And Mr. Tiller's not here to help Mr. Davis out, so. Mr. Davis, yes.
I make a motion to approve the minutes of the last meeting without corrections.
Roll call, please.
Yes, to approve the March 20, 2023 draft minutes as presented. How say you? Ms. Butler?
Aye.
Mr. Davis?
Aye.
Ms. Pearson?
Aye.
Ms. Thomas? Okay. Let's get the right line. Mr. La Rochelle?
Aye.
Mr. Moyer?
Aye.
Ms. Rose?
Aye.
Dr. Schmidt?
Abstain.
Mr. Tiller? Mr. Tiller is now absent. I think I got everybody.
Me?
Oh, Mr. Bennett.
Absolutely. Aye.
Thank you.
And Patty.
And Patty Townsend. I'm going to do a very good job here. And Ms. Townsend approved. Thank you. That's everybody.
Thank you very much. Citizens' comment period. The audience vacated quick.
Yep, he's gone.
Okay, thank you very much. There is nobody to present anything on citizen comment. We are moving along. Ms. Kelly, any presentations, my friend? No. Next item, unfinished business. Anybody with unfinished business? Ms. Ledoux? No? Okay. Skip to the backside of your sheet, please. New business. Are we all worn out, or there's no new business? All right.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes, ma'am.
As an active staff member, I would like to say that I do have one AFD advisory committee meeting coming up in May. There was an application to add one parcel to the Putney Creek District, so that will probably come up for the Planning Commission's review in June.
Okay. Thank you for that. How many districts are being re-identified?
There are no new renewals this year.
So,
the next renewals will come up next year in 2024.
Okay, so this will be the single AFD consideration for this year?
Yep, just one ad application.
Thank you very much. Chairman's report. Real brief, the one item I was going to call on those individuals that expressed an opinion or a consideration with regards to help review definitions in the zoning ordinance and the conditional use versus permitted use. Is Mr. LaRochelle still interested in that, doing that? Okay, and Ms. Rose? Okay. If I may suggest something for you, please tackle one of your other colleagues here on the commission to see if they can help you in that endeavor. And Ms. Kelly, would you be open to meeting with one and both of them on maybe separate dates just to kind of outline what you're seeing and where they may help you with that? Okay? And I will wait a couple months before I call on anything with progress on that, if that's okay with your group. Again, we're not trying to redo this in a matter of 2 months or anything, just so long as progressive. Thank you very much. Why the look? Okay, thank you very much. Thank you very much for volunteering, and those people who may be helping with them, I appreciate that. Yes.
Mr. Bennett, quick question on that. I know you mentioned the Kelly meeting with us separately. Is that because of a time issue, or because if we met together, it would be considered?
Two of you together would be considered a meeting.
Okay.
I mean, more than two would be considered a meeting.
It's three, yeah, three or more.
I'm just thinking of timing more
Okay.
than anything. If you want to do it collectively, fine. But if there are more members involved, then it would have to be divided.
Okay.
Yeah, we'd have to advertise
Could
it.
could I suggest possibly like a Teams call
Yeah,
or Zoom or whatever medium? I use Teams a lot, but I mean,
if you can set it up on Teams, that'd be great. We have
Okay.
we have a Zoom account, but
Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, I can set it up on Teams. So.
that's a great idea.
Okay.
We could even do some stuff via email too if it's just two
Yeah.
members.
Okay.
Again, thank you for all three of you and your participation of that. Ms. Pearson, with Plan RVA, do you have anything to report for us?
I do not, because I did not attend. I was in Myrtle Beach. And the minutes aren't out yet.
Okay.
So next time I'll have something.
Thank you very,
I won't be there at the next one either, though.
okay. If you would pass me an email of when that may be, I may substitute for you.
Also, Mr. Lockwood went to this last one.
Okay.
Too.
Thank you very much.
He's the alternate, so I usually
Oh, okay.
ask him first.
Thank you very much. Commissioners report, and I'll go round table, and I'll start with Ms. Townsend. Anything to report?
No, sir.
Thank you. Dr. Schmidt,
No, sir.
Ms. Rose,
Nothing to report.
Mr. Davis.
No comp plan update steering committee report this month. The full committee is meeting in person next Monday in the afternoon, I believe, 1 to 3. Yeah. And also, just as a note, I attended the District 5 Town Hall meeting on Sunday for the Cox broadband, I guess, kickoff.
Okay.
I'm not sure. Anyway, it was, I think, well attended. I counted at least 60 heads.
Wow.
At the meeting, so it was at Liberty Baptist Church, and I think we had one in District 1, I believe, before that. I'm not sure, but so elsewhere. But anyway, it was well attended and informative, so it's on the way, I hope.
Quick question on that. I did not receive an invitation for that. I thought of it the other day, and I looked back through my emails. I didn't see anything come in.
I saw social media, Mr. Lockwood, put it out. So yeah, other ways how it was communicated, I'm not sure.
You're talking about a steering
Oh,
committee?
no, I'm sorry. I thought you were talking about the broadband.
Oh, no, I'm talking about the comp plan.
Yeah, so I'll forward the email then if you didn't get
Okay.
one.
Yeah, and our email server has been a little hinky lately, so, but it's Monday from 1 to 3?
Correct.
Okay, okay.
Thank you, Mr. Davis. Mr. Moyer?
Nothing right now.
Thank you, Mr. Moyer. Mr. LaChelle?
Nothing to add.
Thank you, Ms. Thomas? Thank you, Ms. Pearson?
Nothing to add.
And Ms. Butler?
Nothing to add.
Thank you very kindly, folks. Next meeting, what's the possibility of the next meeting, Ms. Ledoux?
We have one item for public hearing for the May meeting. It's just a small rezoning, so you'll get the information in the mail probably earlier than a week before the meeting. And it's not a large, giant packet. I promise. Yes. And then, yeah, for future meetings, we're just anticipating the AFD. So not a whole lot in the pipeline right now, so we'll keep you posted.
So the next meeting will be Monday, May 15th
Right.
at 6:30 in this room.
Yes, sir.
All right. If there is nothing else, I will call adjournment at 8:12 p.m.
8:12.
Thank you very much for attending, everybody.
Adjourned. Yes, just leave them there. We'll come pick them up tomorrow. Thank you. Unless you really are dying to have it, Joe. You should have saw me try to figure out how to put it all in as a PDF.